Hello, my name is Egon Chalakian. Today I have an urgent message for all of humanity that pertains to the fate of our civilization. I elected to bring this message to your esteemed attention following my recent participation in a joint Nobel Prize Committee National Academies of Science meeting in Washington, D.C., whereat we discussed the issues of misinformation and disinformation. This sparked a point in my life where I realized there is so much misleading information on the subject of climate change that inspired me to deliver the following message to you people.
That I was called in and asked to solve this problem, this timeline contraction problem. And I eventually did my due diligence and did all the investigating and basically only had one piece of information, and that was reinforcement. The computer's right. The timelines will contract down to some inevitable thing. There is an inevitable event. It's been forecast, it's been predicted, it's been fed to us in a slop trough of what they want us to believe will happen. They don't actually have control over what happens. They only have control over the reaction, and it seems that no matter what they try to do to cause their desired reaction, it's going to have an opposite effect. Much, much easier for me to explain today what that process is as opposed to back then. If I had to give it a name, I would say it's the awakening process. It's an evolution of consciousness that cannot, will not, and no matter what decisions or possibilities are injected into the equation, eventually it all resolves down to us all learning the truth and becoming aware of this massive dam of lies that has been built that keep us from knowing massive volume of information that we should otherwise possess. Essentially what happened with Looking Glass, not only did they not want people to use it anymore because they knew it was just going to burp out the same thing, but at the same time they didn't want anybody else to know what it was saying. I'm sure. Because that information was a monumental concern when I was in the military about how to prevent this inevitability. Now, at first I thought it was end of the world. Now I see end of the world as end of their world. The biggest cherry on top of all this conversation would be a synopsis to say that if I could convince everybody out there that for all intents and purposes, what we believe to be true eventually becomes true. If somebody convinces us that a major disaster is going to happen in the very near future, a major disaster happens in the very near future. If we don't buy into that fear and accept that there's really nothing that we know is going to believe to be true, eventually becomes true. If somebody convinces us that a major disaster is going to happen in the very near future, a major disaster happens in the very near future. If we don't buy into that fear and accept that there's really nothing that we know is going to happen and accept of whatever happens, that makes the convergence of the timelines happen as naturally as possible. Any attempts to try to go away from this one inevitable conclusion, I again see as a new beginning, an end of this reality, the beginning of something that we can't even possibly understand based on the level of our beliefs currently. But when all that information comes flooding out, there's going to be no denying what's true and what's a lie or what's illusion. Basically what we're experiencing right now is two master chess players sitting at the board. And one of them looks down at the board and sees that he's in checkmate in 7 moves. And he looks across at his opponent, and he knows that his opponent sees it too. So there's no getting out of it. So at this point, the loser can only prolong the game. Both players know the game is over. It's only a matter of time before he does this, and then you're forced to do this, and then he's forced to do this, and eventually checkmate. We, as a race, if we could understand that the game is over, that based on the rules of the game, the bad guys have already lost, the good guys have already won. Yes, there's moves left on the table, but those moves are being forced by the player that is going to win. The only way that checkmate can't happen is if the player that's winning makes a mistake. But from all of the information that I've gathered, all of the information that's been given, all of the information that's been vetted to me, it seems pretty obvious that the good guy player on the side of the chessboard knows exactly what has to be done to win the game. And so at this point, any mistake would be all but impossible.
I will never stop saying this. This message is so important. I will die on this hill. If you share or repost any content on my page, please let it be this one, especially to your friends, your family, your community. We are bombarded with so many different storylines, so many different things that people say will be the end of the world, the next coming apocalypse, or what will end humanity for good. And if it's not the mainstream sharing their doomsday predictions, it's someone on your For You page, on Instagram, on TikTok, or it's in these movies and TV shows that are pushed out to the public to seep into our subconscious. It can be easy to feel powerless or overwhelmed when we start to see all of this popping up and not know what to do. But one of the most powerful things that you as an individual can do is just say no. No, I do not want that in my reality. So I humbly ask you, next time you're faced with one of these predictions, whether it be the zombie apocalypse, an alien invasion, a asteroid hitting the earth, or any other event like this, just say no, I don't want that in my reality. I think we have figured out by now that one of the main tactics that they have used to try to dominate and control the collective reality is by putting it in our faces so that it seeps into our subconscious so that we unknowingly manifest that reality for them. They not only do this to try to bypass any karmic repercussions, but they intentionally do this to try to get us to manifest this reality because they have no creational potential. They have no manifestation capabilities. They have to either steal those capabilities from us or get us to unknowingly consent to these realities because we are constantly consuming this content and we are just saying, oh, well, if that happens, what can I do? Instead of standing up and saying no. You hold so much more power and creational authority than you realize. If everyone did this, our reality would look so different. They have tried so hard to make you feel small, powerless, like you don't matter, and that you can't affect any change at all, so why bother? The reason they try so hard to try to control the masses, to try to control the content that goes out in the mainstream, is because they are scared to death. Only someone who is in fear needs control. When you are in your true knowingness and pure potential and peace, love, and harmony, you don't need to control anything around you. So I ask you, yes, you, with all of that creational authority and power that you possess, please focus it towards a brighter and better future for the world. Instead of feeding your energy into all of these negative narratives, instead of feeding your energy into consuming all of this